Thousands of people are without power right now in San Diego County. A red flag warning in effect as strong, dry winds increased our risk for fire.
CBS 8 declaring today a weather impact alert day. Thank you so much for being with us here. It is now 11:01. I'm Netta Iranpour.
I'm Eric Connor. It's a lot going on here. SDG&E shutting off power to hundreds of people in North and East County, and we have team coverage on these dangerous winds. CBS 8's Regina Rita live in Ramona, where crews put out a brush fire overnight. Chris Groh, live in Escondido, sharing how North County is weathering the wind today. And meteorologist Evan Ronnie is in studio with your forecast.
But first, we do want to go to Kelly Hessedal. Look at the wind whipping around there near Alpine. Semi-trucks have toppled over. Kelly, what are you dealing with?
Yeah, the conditions out here are pretty rough right now. We're along the 8 near Alpine, and the wind gusts, when they really come through here, it can just knock you right off your feet. So the wind has been so bad that they actually rerouted a lot of these high-profile vehicles and had them head back towards San Diego. You can see just how many are parked here along the freeway. But let me get you to some video of one of those overturned semis from this morning. If you take a look at this video, it happened right around 7 a.m. near the westbound lanes of the 8 and Hapatul Valley Road. A semi-truck tipped over in the westbound lanes. The wind was just so strong, it pushed that semi right over. It was so large, it blocked the whole freeway. There's been dust blowing all over the place. These wind gusts hit really hard. So you can imagine how difficult it is for these drivers in these large vehicles. So fortunately, the driver of that truck is okay. He made it out safely. The truck ended up in bad shape. Crews had to get it upright first before they could remove it from the road. So that took a few hours. They had to hook up some of those large chains to it so they could hoist it back upright. But this is just one of the trucks that they had to deal with today. There were 2 other semis that flipped over in the same area. A tow truck driver told us this is the 5th one he's seen so far today. So they are extremely busy. We talked to the drivers of one of the overturned semis, and here's what he told us.
How did you flip over?
With the wind?
Yeah.
Because wind, it's too heavy. Yeah, slowly, because it's too heavy.
Did you were you going slow or fast?
No, slow. As the wind came rapidly, all the trucks, the 3 trucks falling slowly.
And he said he has never been through something like this before. As you heard him say, it felt like it happened in slow motion. That wind just so strong. So here is another live look here at the 8 freeway east of Alpine. You can see traffic moving fine, heading back towards San Diego, but just a line of trucks here on the side of the freeway. Truck drivers certainly having a tough time out here today. And like I said, these wind gusts, when it picks up, it's really tough. But we are going to continue to monitor the situation out here, and we will keep you guys updated with the very latest. But for now, let's head over to my colleague, Regina Urita. She is live in Ramona. Regina, what can you tell us?
Yeah, Kelly, I can tell you these winds are miserable where we're at. Definitely has picked up since earlier this morning. But what's really making it very challenging are these wind gusts. While we're standing here, I can feel myself, getting pushed back by these winds, and I have to kind of balance myself. But we're in Ramona Grassland Preserve. Right behind me, you can still see the burn scar where that fire was burning earlier this morning. We saw crews around 7 this morning putting out that fire. They were able to cut line and get that fire under control. So you're looking at video of what officials had to do this morning, or rather crews, but officials still don't know what started the fire. You can see crews at the time were trying to control any hot spots and keep them from flaring up. With these types of weather conditions, it's really easy for any embers to pick up and be carried away and spark additional fires. Now, SDG&E has cut power to more than 50,000 customers, and bear with me because the winds are just very strong here, very loud. You can hear it through the mic. But again, they have cut power to more than 50,000 customers to prepare for these powerful Santa Ana winds. The SDG&E public safety outage map shows the areas that are already without power right now. So those areas include here in Ramona. They also have Julian and Alpine. Nearly 70,000 customers could still be left in the dark. SDG&E says it could take until Wednesday or later in the week to restore power. We talked to several residents who tell us they're prepared to be without power. Take a listen.
I mean, we were well aware that this was going to happen. but it's still kind of a kick to the gut. You know, it's like, damn, you know, and not till Friday, I understand it's going to be out till.
You know, you're leading up to it. You know, it's inevitable it's going to happen. It just happened to happen this weekend. The winds were strong last night, very strong. So, you know, like I said, we get by.
And guys, we went towards the area where there was a little bit more civilization. This area is very rural, so not much going on in this area other than those strong winds that have been pushing dry vegetation, which fire crews are really concerned about the strong winds and that dry vegetation and the low humidity, of course. But where there was a little bit more of civilization, we did see just really a ghost town. The only areas that were packed were one gas station and the supermarkets where people were stocking up on groceries, water, and ice. But to get a little bit more perspective on these strong winds, I'm going to send it over to our colleague Chris Groh to see how North County is doing over there. Chris.
Yeah, the winds are blowing strong here in Escondido as well, too. We're right here in Escondido Boulevard in Washington, the heart of the downtown area. And while many may be thinking that urban areas like this may not be impacted, we are still seeing that SDG&E has shut off power to several customers here in this area, as well as in more of the wildland areas as well, too. This is an area in which also we saw some of the street signs, including this one right here on Washington, being removed because it was blowing too loose in the wind and they didn't want that to hurt anyone. We spoke with Escondido Fire about some of the preparations that they are taking because Escondido presents that sort of issue, if you will, where there is both urban as well as somewhat rural areas. Take a listen.
One of the things we have is we have our automatic and mutual aid agreements with all our neighbors. We have a great working relationship with CAL FIRE, and what we've designated in most of these areas around our city, which are on those borders of all that wildland, we have what's called a mutual threat zone. So any fire in that area, you're automatically going to get all of CAL FIRE's first response and all of Escondido's first response in those areas too.
And so you can see all in and around Escondido, the wind is blowing hard. And what we were talking about there with the chief is that this is considered to be a wildland urban interface all throughout Escondido. And that's why they are working with CAL FIRE hand in hand, as well as some of the other surrounding agencies in case that fire does start. Now, something else that they told us is that when they have this red flag warning, that they are staffed to the max. In fact, they even have a battalion chief that is single-handedly working with forecasts to see exactly where the wind, what direction, how fast, and where it is that they need to sort of direct resources, because they're also working with police hand in hand as well, too. In fact, I saw an Escondido police officer taking a tumbleweed from out in the middle of the road, trying to make sure that it did not harm people with traffic and so forth. Of course, we know that people oftentimes, when we see these winds, not just the high-profile vehicles, but you can also some of those low-profile, those sedans, SUVs can be impacted as well, too. But as we come back out here live, we have been keeping an eye, and again, so far, things have been pretty quiet. We do know that some people are without power because of those community, of course, because of the fact that it is a bit of a danger to have those the power going with those power lines. So they want to be safe. We'll be monitoring that up in this area as well, too. But for now, we're going to send things back to you in studio.
Wow, incredible how much that wind is blowing.
Absolutely.
Chris, thank you for that live look there.
Got the wind really picking up, whipping around things out there. You saw that live shot in Kelly's live shot where all those semi-trucks had to pull off to the side. And good thing they are, because it's dangerous out there right now.
Yeah, this is actually our peak where we're seeing the most intense wind gusts. It was early this morning. Wind gusts to this extent will likely continue for the next several hours, and then we'll start to see them die down. Tomorrow morning is when we see this red flag warning expire. 4 a.m. is the expiration on this red flag warning. The ingredients necessary for that red flag warning: low relative humidity and gusty easterly winds. Everywhere in red affected, and that's where we've had all those reporters that you just saw in the areas in red. But even close to the coastline, we've seen some more intense wind gusts at times. So here's where those peak wind gusts have been over the last several hours. Look at Sill Hill, 92 miles per hour. Alpine, 66 miles per hour. Pine Valley, 54. So it has been very windy out there, and all that wind is doing is drying us out. It is leading to very low relative humidity, which means if a fire starts in this window today, it has a very good chance of spreading, and all the ingredients are there for it to be able to spread out of control, which is why you heard Chris mentioning how those fire crews are all on very high alert. Here's what we see between now and the evening. Notice those wind gusts begin to die down towards certain parts of the county. Alpine, for example, down to 34 miles per hour by 4 p.m. today. It is not going to be the biggest drop in wind speeds or wind gusts, but it will be substantial going into early tomorrow morning. Here's 4 a.m. where you start to really notice that decline in wind speeds. And then the more dramatic change that we'll see is what we see from Wednesday morning into Thursday night. Take a look as those winds shift back onshore. This is Thursday at about 4 p.m. You got Borrego Springs at 65 miles per hour. So a bit of whiplash when we look at the direction of wind. For today, that warm, dry air is coming over the mountains toward the coastline and inland valleys, leading to 70s in the forecast. So warmer than normal temperatures, a lot of sunshine, very dry conditions.